Well, for the last few months, I've been working on a new series of animated projections for the stage play Peter Pan. Coming along slow but sure. Some of the scenes done, not all of them, still working. The one that I feared the most was the London Flyover, where the children join Peter Pan and fly over the cityscape of London and on to the third star on the right. But that one had me pretty much scared to death. Wasn't quite sure how I was going to pull it off. It's obviously fantasy, doesn't have to be super realistic, but I wanted it somewhat realistic and somewhat reminiscent of what I'd seen in the past. So with much fear and trepidation, this is how I did it, and hopefully you can learn something and maybe avoid my mistakes and probably do it much, much better. This is the tale of my journey to create the London flyover scene. Well, I pretty much fired up Google Earth and searched for London so I could at least get an idea of how things were laid out in the city. And how the River Thames kind of flowed and where some of the major landmarks were. So that was a huge plus. Let's turn on places here. And we can see, really, of course, what I need to know was where Big Ben was, and that was Parliament and all that, and where the old London Bridge was, the old Tower Bridge. So once I kind of figured out where things were, I went ahead and did a screen grab of the overview shot and just did a quick screen grab right there, and then going to bring that into Photoshop. Okay, here we are in Photoshop. Any paint program should work and do the same thing I did here. I've got a few different layers here to show you the various aspects, stages of the progression of the work. Here's the original screen grab. As you can potentially see, we've got the River Thames there floating through London town. And what I needed to do, of course, was separate that out. So basically I separated the river and I came up with an image that looked like this. Notice we're transparent. There's not going to be a background there. I'm going to save these images as ping images. And here is the separated out River Thames. That will be saved as a separate ping image as well. And typically I take that background image and I'm going to run a lot of Photoshop filters on it and rough it up, change it around, delete anything that looks current. And you almost don't even need this image per se. Any image will work. The key was just getting the shape of the river right and figuring out where items were along the river. That helps. And so I'll have two ping images that I'll be bringing into iClone. You'll probably want to eliminate the bridges. As you can see here, I've done away with them. I used them strictly for reference purposes in the tutorial, but probably best when you do your version, if you do a version like this, to make it nice, one nice seamless ping image. Okay, I've dragged the two ping images onto the stage here in iClone, and let's go ahead. I've named them ground and river, and if you have snapping turned on, you should be able to line them up pretty close. And of course they're going to be pretty small on the stage. You're probably going to want to scale them up. I'm going to go ahead and attach river to ground, and let's do it over here. There we go, ground. And probably get the pivot point right here. Okay, there we go. And move that down. Now, as I say, it's going to be a pretty small image. Another thing I like to do with a ping, there tends to be whenever you start scaling it up, starts getting thick, even though it's really one-sided. It's kind of creates a little depth there, which is kind of a faux depth. I like to make sure I have stretched it close. There we go, like that, so where it's real flat, and then scale it out. And I really, as should be apparent, I really didn't do things to scale very much at all. First off, working to scale in iClone gets really tricky. So turn the grid off here. So I found it best to really just resize things where I could navigate within iClone without too much trouble. And we'll play with that just a little bit more. But for now, one thing I wanted to do was, one thing you might need to do is adjust, play with the river image a little bit here, where the river is going to be. Sometimes it gets a little off, and so you might need to move it down below the ground plane a little bit, but tweak it a little bit so there's not too much flickering going on, which can be very annoying. Want to avoid that at all cost. Another thing I do with the river texture, I added just a bump map, nothing fancy. I just had some old textures that I thought would work for just a swirling bitmap here. I'm just going to add that as a bump and give the river some ripples. Now obviously it's going to need to be scaled, and you're just going to have to play with it, whatever works best. Another thing you'll want to do is probably give it some specularity, and for some reason it comes in with black on the specularity channel, so bring it up a little bit. You might put a little blue in there, or green, and adjust that glossiness and specularity, and adjust that to where you get it looking like a little bit of water. Of course, you can add some reflection to it. When you get a sky in there, it'll be reflecting the sky, and that's a good thing, but you want to play with that some. And I let the bump map, I animated the bump map and moved it along. Now, this particular animation is not as long as what I did, but for our purposes, I'll use it. And let me just bring up the timeline and the river, and I'm going to look at the materials layer there. And let's get this out of the way for now. Don't need collect or transform right now. We'll play with the materials layer. And what I did, I'm just for purposes, I'm going to make a little movement here. Let's go down and adjust that up. Get it right here. Make sure the bump is selected. And we'll go give yourself some more room. Real estate's hard to come by. We will do an offset here. Let's see which way is the best way to go. Go however you want to go. Let me zoom in. You can see what's going on. And that direction seems to be fine. And I'm just going to do a 0.999, which is pretty much the limit. And you can see what's happening here. Now I will move this keyframe out further for the duration, but it'll be moving much slower than that. But that'll give us just a little bit of movement there in the water, and that'll help the water a little bit, I think, too. Okay, now as I said, nothing's going to be to scale, but now it's about time to start playing with the structures and the buildings. So let's go to that phase. Okay, here we are back in iClone 6, and let's think about how we might handle the architectural aspect of the flyover. Now, you're going to end up with lots of buildings, and they can be tricky to arrange and organize if you've got, 50, 100 buildings or so. So one thing I like to do, I'm going to start with just a simple cube, and I'll probably size it up some more later, but I'm going to get it real big. And let's modify that. And we're going to set it as a dummy. Now a dummy is not going to render, and you can use Control-D to turn it on and off. But I'm going to make that dummy there. I may play with the color of it just for grins. give it an unusual color so I'll know what it is when I see it. And I might turn up luminosity. And okay, so there's our dummy object. Now let's think about the architecture. There's a lot of great packs that Reallusion offers that's going to do real good, I think, for this particular project. One of the packs is the Medieval Market Town. It's got a lot of cool buildings that I think will be appropriate for this particular look for Peter Pan. And basically, just, pick pretty much anything you like and just start laying them out. And as I say, scaling is going to be a real trick. For right now, let's just play with it as it is normally scaled. And as I said, we're just going to bring in a bunch of these buildings. London seems to be arranged what we call higgledy-piggledy. Things aren't set up on a grid, so feel free to have fun with the buildings and put as many in there. We're going to create a cluster of buildings. Is what this is all about, and just finding buildings that work for you. There are other packs. One other pack that I had some buildings. Let me turn on snapping. Here we go. Snap that around. And just, play with the buildings. Duplicate them if you choose. And we're going to duplicate this entire cluster again and again. Is one thing we're going to do. So, okay, let's go. One other pack I liked that I happen to have was, if I can find it here, the old Sandy Bay pack. Had some cool buildings in it. That neat old church I liked, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit more appropriate to maybe some of these other buildings. And once again, I'm just going to move them around. So basically that's what you're doing. You're just creating a little cluster of buildings. I would say, 6, 7, 8 buildings would be fine. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically hold down the control key, and let's just select all the buildings, holding down the control key, and then I'm going to attach them to my dummy object here. And now, when I select the dummy object, everything will move, and I can rotate and do whatever I want. And I can scale. And that's the big thing, because I'm not going to work at scale for a project that has this much real estate to cover. I'm going to scale things down pretty small. But that's the idea, is to create a cluster. You can create a number of clusters or just 1 or 2 clusters, which is pretty much what I did, and then reuse those building clusters again and again, turn them different directions, and that's going to help you with just the overall look. And since it's at night, that's going to help a lot of things. You're not going to see everything perfectly, and that's a good thing. Okay, now here are some objects that I got from the 3D warehouse. We got the Tower Bridge here. A lot of people think of it as London Bridge. It's long since gone, of course. And this is, I believe, the Cheswick Bridge. And then, of course, the House of Parliament and Big Ben and all that. And if you look closely, I have altered the texture map on these. I went ahead and selected this map and created a glow map in my paint program, and that allowed me to have the lights on, as it were, at night. So that's kind of a cool thing you can do. Sometimes it's pretty easy to do, but let's see. Let's select that, and what you would do is just go over and depending on how it's set up, you would select that material. Here's our material list up here. Get the dropper, do that, select that. We'll scroll down here. We're really hurting for real estate here, as you can see. Like so, I took that diffuse map into my paint program and then just drew some little rectangles with that bright color. So now I can control the lighting a little bit on that texture. So you do have to tweak that a little bit depending on how you set your render properties, but that works. You'll notice in the film I had the face of Big Ben glowing to make it stand out. It wouldn't have done that otherwise. It would have been tricky to light it and make it look correct. So once again, I just selected that particular image map there and loaded that particular map right there into my paint program and created this simple little oval, and then that allowed me to save it as a glow map. So I have those two separate images, and you see now I can control that depending on my lighting at night. So that helps. So if you have 3D Exchange, you can certainly go to the Google Warehouse, Trimble Warehouse I believe it's called now, and find models that would be appropriate for your scene. And these of course had to do some tweaking, certainly on the London Bridge, Tower Bridge model that needed a good bit of tweaking, but those definitely help sell the City of London a little bit. So these were the basic three that I used, plus my little architectural clusters. Okay, another little architectural thing I like to do to save on polygons, for one thing, is to create, especially for a night scene, to create a silhouette. Basically, I just did this in the paint program. Actually, I put some models in iClone and then rendered them out as JPEGs in Silhouette and brought that into my paint program, cleaned it up. But then I added a few particle effects onto those. Thick smoke, chimney smoke, just create some particle effects, and so I can have that going on in the distance. So that saves on polygons for sure, and as long as you don't get the camera too close and watch your angles and move it with the camera if you have to, that'll help you a great deal in saving on polygons. Another object I created was a panorama, and this is a kind of a circular map going on here, and lots of little buildings there in the background. So that's put on the real fringe of the set, as it were, and once again strictly in the distance, but that'll help cheat some more buildings in the background without having to actually have real buildings back there using up a lot of resources. So those are a couple little cheats you can do to once again extend the set, make it look somewhat realistic, although of course I was after a bit of a fantasy effect. Okay, here we are back in iClone, and here's our two bitmaps. We've attached them together. And as I say, I think most of you would probably eliminate the bridge references here and make these just one nice continuous river and then a nice landscape without these breaks. I'm just kind of using it for reference purposes at this point. Also, I really played fast and loose with the scale. When you work at actual scale, it's going to be really tricky to navigate in iClone, potentially. At least I have that issue. So turn off the grid here. So I basically just found a scale that kind of worked for me. Let's go ahead and add one of our clusters, building clusters, and load that in. You'll see basically it's just going to be a point of arranging these clusters, rotating them, playing with their scale. Now you can see the dummy there, and that of course allows me to easily scale and rotate these around. London's pretty much, as I say, a little bit of a random layout, so you'll be turning things that are not really based on a grid in any way, so things need to be rotated and played with to make it look halfway realistic. And as I may have said, this is certainly not going to be an extreme realistic look. It's more of a fantasy look. But then we'll just start copying. I'm going to hold down the control key and drag another one out and rotate it around and start laying these out. So that's basically how the basic arrangement of the city was done. Then of course I brought in certain props we talked about. Got a bridge here, and just start laying out the items. as you see here, and just keep doing that until you get an arrangement that you like. Here's Parliament here, very important structure. Not sure where it came in at, so we'll have to bring it around. Here we are. And once again, let's see, you might want to scale. There's Big Ben that way. I think it kind of faces that way. So you'll play with that arrangement there. Once again, we may select the ground and adjust it a little bit. So I'll keep playing with this a little more, and then we'll come back and take another look and see how things are. Okay, so here everything is pretty much laid out. Got all our building clusters arranged where I think they'll be conducive to what I need to do. You can see some of the silhouetted images there around the edges. Almost didn't need the panorama one, but never know. We've got some other little factories over here. You can see a little bit one there. It might show up. So once you have your scene pretty much laid out, the next big thing is to create how the camera is going to move through this scene. Now, one tricky thing, and I don't know if it's something I'm missing, don't know about, but it's really tricky to lay out a camera path in iClone 6 because you can't move the screen when you start creating your path. So basically what you'll probably have to do is really widen out your shot, because you can't use your alternate key anymore. I'm holding down the alternate key in the right mouse, and it doesn't scroll the screen around. So it makes it a little tricky to set your path. But basically what you need to do is start laying down nodes for your path. I knew I was going to start over here by these trees, and I was going to go along here, and I was going to go here, and I just created a nice loop, created and laid down a bunch of nodes, go around Parliament. I knew I was going to go around Big Ben, so I did that loop and kept going around, going under the bridge here. But as I say, I'm running out of real estate, so it's real tricky to do in 6, and hopefully someone has a solution that I don't know about. But that's the one issue I have of a few with iClone 6. See, once I turn off the path and hit escape, now you see I can easily with my right mouse move around. When I start creating a path, I can't do that. So hopefully that will get remedied. Okay, now once you've got a path, obviously the path is going to follow your terrain. And since this is a flat terrain, actually, the path is pretty much flat on the ground. You'll need to go back and edit the path so it will, like a roller coaster, go up and down all around like you wanted it to do. Now I've already adjusted this path, but let's go in and take a look and see basically what we did here. We just had to take it pretty much one node at a time and go over to your modify the path, and then we want to edit the path, and click on edit, and then you'll just click on each individual node, and you'll need to adjust it off the ground. Now at first I went ahead and selected the entire path and raised it to a higher level, and then I went through each node and selected it. And now the nice thing, when you're editing the nodes, you can hold down the alternate key and use your right mouse and rotate around and get your orientation. For some reason I can't do this when I'm creating the path, and that's a very important aspect to it. So basically you just go through, adjust each point, and that's where my camera is going to be moving along this path. And so here we go all around like so. We went around Parliament and everything, all the buildings, and then at the very end we went through Tower Bridge here, London Bridge. There we go. And flew through there, and then over the city, and then up toward and past the moon, which I haven't added yet. That's something we can go ahead and put in here. And there it is. Simply a sphere with a image map on it. And so there's our moon object. So now the thing is, we want our camera to be attached to the path, but we want it to look where we want it to see. So what I did was create another dummy object. Okay, a simple cube here. I called it camera target. I made it a dummy, and then I attached another cube to it as well. And that is the target that the camera is actually going to look at. Okay, there we are. And as we play this timeline, we will see. Here we go. So the green, I believe it's the green one. No, okay, it's the yellow. The yellow box is what the camera is going to look at. The green is attached, parented to the path. So it's moving along the path. And now the camera that I'm going to use is going to be looking at this target. And by adjusting this camera target object right here, I'll open it up here and look. We'll see the camera target. Okay, here's our camera target. And now you can see the keyframes. Lots of keyframes as we move this camera target. Let me go here and find my camera. Okay, here we go. Let's go and look at the fly cam. Okay, here's our camera. And now let me turn this, give us a little more real estate. And now we can scroll this on up a little bit. And there we go. And now that camera is tracking that target object with its keyframes, and it's looking where I want it to look. And we're still moving along the path. The camera is obviously parented to the path, and it's moving at a pretty much continuous rate, and I'm just having it look where I want it to look. And so it's looking at that yellow box. While the green is parented to the path, the yellow box is parented to the green dummy object. And there it goes flying around, looking where I want it to look. And that's a big key is to getting the effect that you want, because it's very hard to control the camera unless you give it that look at object. Okay, so just so now you can see, here's the camera attached to the path, and I attach the green dummy object to the next node in the path, so it'll always be ahead of the camera, and then the yellow look at target is what the camera is going to be looking at as it moves along. So we can see a little bit of that as we go, and the camera basically follows the path as the green is on the path, the green dummy there, and then its parented yellow box is parented to the green. And since it is parented to the green, it's following the path, but I can make it go in different directions. I can't make that green dummy box move anywhere else but along the path. By attaching another object to the little green box, I can move it around. And while it's still following the path, it's doing its own thing as well, and the camera is looking at it. So that's one way to get that camera to do what you want it to do. Okay, the next thing we need to do is kind of get our lighting roughed in and our sky. The light, since we're real close here, let's go ahead and adjust it. Now what I ended up color-wise using was just a little bit of a blue color for the night sky. And I also chose to backlight as much as possible. I like to do that whenever possible. Let me go ahead and turn off this. We'll go with a black backdrop. Let's take our moonlight here and we'll adjust it here. And by backlighting, typically you get a nice silhouette kind of look, and since the moon is coming from the back of the set, as it were, then I thought that would probably be a good thing to do. So basically kept the moon angled. Let me get here, we can see it. There we are. Yeah, it's kind of in that direction roughly. Now I did cheat when I went around Big Ben. I didn't like how some of the light was working, so I added a few keyframes, and I moved it around a little bit just as a cheat to fake the lighting. It's not too apparent, but yeah, feel free to tweak it. Now the next thing, of course, is the sky. I'm sorry, I do not remember where I found the sky dome. Pretty much any sky texture will work, I think, for what you're going to do. Let me turn this on here. It was just a classic sky dome. Let me reduce it here, and you can see it's just a dome with an image map. I found an image map that I happened to like. It was okay. Now, you of course have the wonderful tool now in iClone 6, the sky tool, and I'm not terribly familiar with it, but I do, and so I couldn't quite get the look I wanted in the sky, but I do like the stars. So let's turn on the stars, and that certainly gave me what I wanted for the star field. Much better than I could have done with with an image map. So I chose just to use the star field from the sky tool. But feel free to play with that. You'll probably get maybe even better results, better than I did on this. So we got that. And then, of course, played with the HDR settings and got the glows that I wanted and everything. I went through and sewed a lot of little point lights all throughout the cityscape. So I've got a lot of little point lights, and that's another beauty thing of iClone 6, is you can have pretty much as many as you want. So we've got a whole bunch here of point lights, just kind of giving a little glow to some of the clusters of buildings and on the sides of buildings to give a little help. I added some fog. Built some particle effects for chimney smoke, sewed those all around, and then I added a general ground fog kind of in the back. Let's see if we can get it percolating here a little bit. You'll see it. Fog acts as a fill light many times if it's a light colored fog, and so you don't need a lot of fill light at all, or ambient light. So let the fog be that ambient light for a lot of things. But you can see now that fog's starting to percolate in the background. Got some smoke from the smokestacks, and there's some chimney smoke around. And there goes our dummy objects, as you can see there. Of course, that will not render. And of course, you can always use Control-D to turn those off and on, but that lets you see what's going on there. And that's basically it. Certainly a lot of tweaking going on, but got kind of close to what I wanted, a fantasy look that wasn't too taxing on the computer. If you have a real problem with some of these buildings, at one point I was turning them off and moving them to another portion of the set as the camera picked up that angle. So turning things on and off, moving them around is one way to save real estate as well. But that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed it.